MY's son and his wife moved into MY house temporarily. 4 years later, SHE called me the old woman upstairs. AT Christmas dinner, SHE mocked MY useless antique shop. I calmly said I sold it. Her. For how much, ME? $47 million. Her face went white. My son and his wife moved into my house temporarily after they lost money on a failed business idea. 4 years later, my daughter-in-law was introducing me to guests as the old woman who stays upstairs. She thought I was too quiet to fight back. What she didn't know was that the tiny antique shop she mocked for years had just been valued at $47 million, and by the time she realized it, I was already leaving. My name is Evelyn. I'm 68 years old. 3 years ago, after my husband Robert passed away, the house became painfully quiet, too quiet. So when my son Nathan called saying he and his wife Tessa were struggling financially, I opened my doors without hesitation. At first it felt nice, family dinners, noise in the kitchen. Life in the house again, but slowly things changed. Tessa didn't move into my home, she occupied it. The first warning sign was my piano. It had belonged to my mother. A beautiful old walnut upright that sat near the living room window for over 30 years. One afternoon I came downstairs and found it gone. Not moved, gone. I found it shoved into the garage beneath old paint cans and storage boxes. Meanwhile, in its place, a giant white treadmill. Tessa walked into the room wearing workout clothes and earbuds. "Oh good, you saw it," she said casually. The piano made the room feel old-fashioned. Old-fashioned. That piano survived 2 wars, 3 homes, and 50 years of memories. But according to Tessa, it ruined her aesthetic. I didn't argue, I simply nodded. Then later that night, after they went upstairs, I hired movers online. The next morning, the treadmill was sitting in the garage, and my piano was back exactly where it belonged. Tessa stood in the hallway staring at it with disbelief. "You moved my treadmill," I sipped my tea calmly. "No, dear, I restored my living room." Nathan immediately looked uncomfortable. That became our new routine. Tessa would push. I would quietly push back harder. She started reorganizing my kitchen without asking, so I installed locks on the cabinets containing my cookware. She started hosting loud wine nights with her friends every Friday, so I began scheduling early morning gardening crews outside her bedroom windows. She hated it. But the real problem wasn't the house, it was money. See, Nathan and Tessa constantly acted broke while spending like celebrities. Luxury bags, weekend trips, new phones every year. Meanwhile, they paid me nothing, no rent, no utilities, nothing. One evening, I overheard Tessa talking on speakerphone with her sister. "She'd fall apart without us here," Tessa laughed. "This house is basically ours already anyway." I stood frozen in the hallway listening. Then she said something worse. "Once she finally downsizes or ends up in assisted living, Nathan gets everything. Everything, not memories, not family, assets." That was the exact moment something inside me changed. After that, I stopped feeling guilty. A week later, Tessa crossed another line. I came home from lunch and found strangers walking through my dining room, a realtor. Tessa was showing them the house. I'm not joking, she smiled brightly when she saw me. "Oh, Evelyn, perfect timing. I was just getting professional opinions on renovation possibilities." The realtor looked horrified. "You didn't mention the owner lived here," he muttered. Tessa laughed awkwardly. "Well, technically this will be Nathan's house eventually. Eventually, like I was already halfway buried." I walked directly to the front door and opened it. "Leave." The realtor practically sprinted outside. Tessa's face turned bright red. "You embarrass me." "No," I said calmly. "You embarrassed yourself." Nathan came home later trying to smooth things over. "She didn't mean it like that." I looked him directly in the eyes. "You know what your wife thinks of me? She thinks I'm furniture." He had no answer because he knew I was right, but here's the thing Tessa never understood. I wasn't some helpless widow living off savings. Years ago, before Robert died, we bought a tiny antique shop in a forgotten little mountain town. Most people thought it was worthless. Even Nathan used to joke that the dusty old building probably cost more in taxes than it earned. What nobody knew was what sat underneath it. See, 6 months earlier, a luxury hotel developer discovered natural thermal springs directly beneath that property. Suddenly, the entire area became prime resort land. And companies started bidding aggressively, very aggressively. I kept the negotiations private, quiet, professional, while Tessa continued treating me like an inconvenience in my own home. One night during dinner, she smirked while scrolling through luxury condos on her tablet. "You know," she said casually, "if Evelyn sold that creepy antique shop, maybe we could finally buy something decent." Nathan nodded absent-mindedly. That hurt more than I expected. Not because of the money, because my own son sat there silently while his wife insulted the last dream his father and I built together. I smiled softly. "If it's so worthless," I said, "then selling it probably isn't worth the trouble." Tessa laughed. Exactly. I took another bite of dinner and said nothing else. Because by then, the highest offer had already crossed $40 million, and they had absolutely no idea. By early December, the atmosphere inside the house had changed completely. Tessa stopped pretending to respect me. Now she just openly acted like she owned the place. One afternoon, I came downstairs and found my framed wedding photo missing from the hallway. The same photo that had hung there for 42 years. I found it inside a closet, face down beside cleaning supplies, in its place, one of Tessa's oversized abstract paintings. I stared at it for a long moment, then quietly carried my photograph back downstairs. Tessa noticed immediately. "Oh, come on, Evelyn," she sighed dramatically. The hallway looked depressing. That picture was taken the day Robert and I bought this house together. The day we started our family. I carefully rehung it on the wall. Then I turned toward her. "This home existed before your aesthetic, dear." Her jaw tightened. Nathan suddenly became very interested in his phone. Coward. A few days later, Tessa announced she was hosting a huge Christmas dinner. Apparently half her office was coming, along with her parents, friends, clients. She planned everything without asking me once. Then 3 nights before Christmas, she cornered me in the kitchen. "We're seating you near the back sunroom," she said while checking decorations on her phone. "It'll be quieter for you there." Translation: hidden away, out of sight. Like an embarrassing old relative, I stirred my tea slowly and smiled. "That sounds lovely." She looked strangely satisfied walking away. Meanwhile, the sale finalized the very next morning. $47 million, transferred directly into my account. I remember staring at the numbers on my laptop in complete silence. Not excitement, not shock, just clarity. For the first time in years, I realized I didn't need anybody's permission to reclaim my life. So while Tessa obsessed over centerpieces and imported wine, I quietly hired movers. And rented a beautiful lakeside cottage 2 hours away. Christmas Eve arrived. The house looked like a luxury catalog exploded inside it. Candles everywhere, gold decorations. Expensive music playing softly. Tessa floated around the dining room acting like royalty. And me, I sat exactly where she placed me, near the back, almost invisible. Dinner dragged on for hours. Then finally dessert arrived, and right on cue Tessa smiled at me across the table. "So Evelyn," she said sweetly, "any luck selling that little antique shop yet?" The table went quiet. I folded my napkin carefully. "Yes," I said calmly, "it's sold." Tessa smirked. "Oh wow, hopefully enough for a retirement condo." I looked directly at her. "It's sold for $47 million. Silence. Absolute silence. Nathan blinked at me like his brain stopped working. Tessa laughed nervously. "No, seriously. I am serious." Her father nearly dropped his wine glass. Nathan leaned forward. "Mom, what?" "The property was purchased for a luxury resort development," I explained calmly. "The funds cleared yesterday." The entire room changed instantly. I could literally feel it. Suddenly Tessa's tone softened. Nathan started smiling. Her mother asked questions about investments. Amazing how fast respect appears when money enters the conversation. But I was already done. The next morning I walked downstairs wearing my coat. Nathan and Tessa were waiting for me in the kitchen. Tessa actually made me coffee, first time in 4 years. "Evelyn," she said carefully, "we were thinking maybe we could all discuss future plans together." Future plans. Now suddenly I mattered. I placed a folder on the table. Nathan opened it slowly. His face went pale. "What is this?" "Official tenancy documents," I said calmly. "You'll both have 60 days to vacate the property." Tessa stared at me in shock. "You're kicking us out?" "No," I replied. "I'm moving on." Nathan looked devastated. "Mom, we're family," I nodded slowly. "Yes. And family should know the difference between love and entitlement." Nobody spoke. I picked up my purse. Then I gave Nathan one final look. I opened this home because I missed having family close to me. But somewhere along the way, you both started waiting for my life to end so yours could begin. Tessa started crying instantly. Nathan looked ashamed for the first time in years, but it was too late. Some damage doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, quietly, until one day there's nothing left to repair. 3 months later, I sat on the porch of my lakeside cottage wrapped in a blanket with coffee in my hands. No tension, no disrespect, no pretending, just peace. Nathan still calls sometimes. Without Tessa around, he sounds more like himself again. Maybe one day we'll rebuild something honest, maybe not. But one thing became very clear through all of this. The moment people start treating your kindness like permanent access, they stop seeing you as a person. And sometimes the strongest thing an old woman can do is quietly walk away with everything.